Hammertime, Mace, Hammertime, Mace, Hammertime, Mace, Hammertime, MMA Power Hour Show with Ronnie, yeah! All right, everybody, welcome to the Mace Hammertime MMA Power Hour. My name is Mace Hammertime. I'm here with my co-host, Ronnie J. Say what's up.
What up? It's your boy Ronnie J. We're about to go over some fight news.
Yep, we're going to go over UFC 273, which happened this last weekend in Jacksonville. Just so everyone knows, we let the dust settle on the news cycle, and we're coming out because there's been a lot of people talking crazy with a lot of misinformation. If you want the insider information, you're at the right spot. This is Mace Hammertime. I am the world's most dangerous man, undefeated in over 500 fights, and an expert in all things that have to do with beating people up.
Again,
right.
How many of those fights are verified?
It's not about that. It's just about, I've seen things. I know the sport. I'm an expert. And to be honest with you, here, before we go any further, I just want to let you know that I made a lot of money last week because all my picks were correct.
All of them?
Yeah. If you go back, I might have picked wrong if you watch it, but I did that on purpose.
Elaborate, please.
Yeah, well, I wanted to throw so I'm so dangerous in Las Vegas that I don't want to set the odds off, so they bet, they place the odds based on what I do because I'm so good. So I kind of let them off my trail to make the odds better for me. So any of the picks that, if you may go back and see that I did wrong, I did those wrong on purpose. So, yeah. Anyway, that's what happened. I made so much money. I was actually down in Jacksonville at the UFC 273. I got in. I don't know. So most people are watching out Wild Wings. You ever heard of the guy named Shad Khan?
No. I
Yeah,
don't think
he's the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh.
He was at the event.
Oh.
Okay, so I know people, right?
Okay.
Turns out I know Shad Khan's limo driver's babysitter.
That is not true.
Yeah, I did. That's how I got in. That's how I got in. I told her, hey, listen, can you hook me up? And she introduced me to the limo driver, and I rode in the trunk and snuck in.
Mace, there's no way that, you know what? All right, on to the fights. All right.
Okay, on to the fights. Back to what we're talking about. UFC 273, you wrapped it up. Let's go over some of the things that happened earlier on in the evening, some of the early card fights. Where do we start here, Ronnie J?
All right, so in the preliminaries, we had some actual bangers. So remember last week we were talking about how Ian Gary was going up against Darian Weeks?
That's right.
And I had predicted that Darian Weeks was not just going to let that shit lie. He knew what he was there for. He knew he was supposed to be a tomato can, essentially.
He came to fight.
He came to fight, and that dude scrapped.
He came to fight.
He proved that he was not no bitch.
No, he wasn't, and I think that when you look at again what the UFC does, I think that they would have loved nothing more for Ian Gary to starch that guy. It didn't happen, but as we will talk about later on in the conversation here, when we talk about a couple other fights, sometimes a fighter is going to need to have a really hard fight like that.
Yeah.
It
did wonders for Ian Gary's credibility. Like, people love him more after that.
Totally, because when you're someone like me who gets knockouts all the time, like in the first 20 seconds, people don't really know what your skill set is, even though it's amazing. So it's nice for him to kind of be able to go out there and have to work a little bit. It shows that he's really a fighter.
Yes,
so. and athletes in that sport, they need to be. I think sometimes those are good for you, and obviously in the sport you don't want to take any damage, and sometimes I think those longer fights they do things to people and they change them forever. But one or two in your career, especially when you're coming up, I think is really good for them psychologically. If it's not good for you physically because you take some more damage, I think it's really good for you psychologically to be able to go through those type of things. So
yeah, because you've been there before. It's a mindset.
Yeah. If you've never climbed to the top of the mountain, it seems insurmountable, but the first time you do it, you're like, cool. Then after you do it, it becomes easier and easier. So it's, I think, a good milestone for a younger fighter that needs to have, have that notch in their belt. So.
I mean, and to be fair, that was an early criticism of Conor McGregor, that he had an easy rise to the title. Like, no one can really say that about Ian Gary because we just sat here and watched.
He had a hard fight, but I think sometimes UFC doesn't. I think sometimes UFC wants them starching dudes the whole time because then it gets so much hype on them. So it's good for the fighter. UFC obviously wants that guy to be putting people down, and it's just. I'm happy for the guy. I'm glad he won, and I think that the guy that he beat, that the Weeks fella, whatever, he should have nothing. He fought hard.
Yeah,
he just didn't look like he was as good of a martial artist. That's really what I saw. He looked like the Weeks looked like he was not really good at any one thing in particular, but just a good fighter at all the things and could hang, but didn't seem like he just had. That's from what I remember from the other night. So.
It was a scrap. Like, I remember, like, they were brawling.
And that was that the main event on the?
That was the main event of the prelims.
The prelims, yeah.
That was a smart choice.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the main card then.
All right. So Vic Patel versus
Vince Pickle. His name is Pickle. I watched that. He was on the Ultimate Fighter.
Yes, See, I knew him from somewhere.
Vince Pickle, yeah, he used to be Vince Pickle, but then he went by Pichel to reinvent his career on this 3-fight win streak. But he wasn't fooling anybody. The Pickle ancestors are mad. He tried going all French on him.
So
Pichel.
Okay, so you remember when I said he looks like a big Cub Swan,
He kind of does, yeah. Well, he's got that mustache.
Yeah. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Does Cub Swanson have a mustache? He used to, right?
Yeah, he used to.
Yeah, but Pichel had that big. Pichel had that big old animal on his face.
You got
like a rodent, like a rodent. Rodent's like biting people on his face. It was nasty. But anyway, he was on a 3-fight win streak apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know who he was beating, but I just never ever thought that guy. I couldn't believe that was on the main event. Honestly.
Yeah, it was.
They should have swapped Ian Gary. Because it wasn't a great fight. It just like both of those guys that fought the Olympian, that guy they're so boring. Those guys are just they're just not dynamic fighters. They're fighters. They grind it. They win, but it's never fun to watch them. I don't know. There's some people, a lot of fighters who are winning and are popular. They are exciting to actually watch. Like their martial arts look dynamically different than these other guys, and you could totally, they're almost to the, like the level of what I can do as far as like the moves,
Yeah.
I see him. There's glimmers of some guys that can do that. And that's what people like. They like to see the razzle dazzle, crazy, cool shit that I can do. And some of these guys can do it. And that's why they're so popular.
Yeah, I agree. Cause like one of the things that kind of drew me to Vic Patel as a fighter was like the way he moved. Like he is a dynamic martial artist.
Do you think so?
I do, cause like I don't know. I'm speaking from like maybe a place of bias because I like the dude. Like I like his footwork. He really does fight a lot like Cub Swanson. Mark Madsen kind of shut that down, but like.
Mark Madsen's like straight out of a time machine from 2005 UFC.
For real. Like a Greco-Roman
just
silver medalist.
Wrestler and just kind of,
dirty. He was dirty boxing.
He was. He's a really, again, another tough, great athlete. I just don't, none of those guys will ever be a champion.
Yeah.
You can just see it. They just don't have it. They're going to be like those, like Ross Pearson type guys.
Yeah, and it's not.
They're awesome. They're good fighters.
Yeah,
and they're gonna win sometimes.
Yeah.
They might win 2 in a row, or one, then lose, then win one, then win a big one, and then lose to some loser. It's just they're never consistent. They always have these like just good enough to hang around. In the UFC,
Yeah.
and there's something to be said about that because that is not like being a journeyman fighter like that. Is I wouldn't know anything about it, but I can only imagine how difficult that is to know that, you work all that time and then, there's a probability, like you've tasted defeat enough to know that that's a possibility.
I mean, Mark Masson's kind of a prospect.
He's never. I don't think. I mean, he's too old, and I just don't think. I didn't see it. I don't see it.
I mean, but he's 11-0. You don't think that has some
What?
sort of...
He's fighting at 55.
Yeah.
He's gonna get. He'll get killed. He get murdered by guys that can punch.
Okay, but what do you? Okay, who do you think? What do you think his limit is? You don't think
He just not. He's just. I don't think that if he doesn't have it by now, he's not gonna have. Like, I just don't see the. I don't see that movement that I can pick out when I see like a champion moving around.
Yeah, like
you know?
in his fight with Clay Guida, it was kind of.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's like two guys that not like Clay Guida's just known for just being. He's just crazy.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like he's got him to to the dance all the time, but it's like that's somebody who's just he's resigned to the fact that he's just a fighter to fight, and will never be a champ. He'll take tough fights, make some money, and
That's just the way it is.
that's how he makes money. Yeah. And good for those guys. Okay, so that was that fight. Madsen
won. Yeah.
Madsen won.
Yep.
Did you have the result? Was it a
It was a unanimous decision.
It was a real snoozer. I remember. I just wasn't. I couldn't wait for the next fight to happen.
Yeah, which was actually pretty exciting.
That was the Mackenzie Dern and Tisha Torres, which I was surprised by how athletic Mackenzie Dern looked in that fight.
Her striking has improved
A lot. Yeah, she moved a lot differently because she used to be like Felice Spencer kind of like boring, like just didn't know what she was. And then it comes down to practice and experience. She's obviously a good athlete, so she seems like she picked up her striking, was doing pretty well on her feet, but then she jumped up and pulled guard against the fence, which ultimately spelled a lot of trouble for Tisha Torres because she kept on making some minor errors with her jiu-jitsu, but it was more dangerous if you didn't know what you were watching right there. You'd be like, why she's got her arm? Who cares?
Yeah. But it just kind of felt like Mackenzie was just dragging her into her zone a lot more often. And even then, like she would make her feel like kind of uncomfortable on the feet, I guess.
She was doing way more on her feet. So I think it surprised Tisha Torres that she was good at striking like that. She couldn't get into
her rhythm.
And
she started like later on, but like she after like the first two rounds, I don't think Tisha could really get into her rhythm.
Yeah, she was very aggressive. She was trying to take the striking to her opponent, which I think is. I mean, I think she still gets torched by anybody above her, but her jiu-jitsu I thought. If you are into jiu-jitsu, the small little battles that you were watching, I believe in that second round that Tisha Torres had with Mackenzie Dern were pretty cool to watch. Yeah. It was really slow and methodical, and like people watching, if you didn't know anything about fighting, would be like, she's just hanging out there. And there's a little bit of striking going, but it was like these like small adjustments, and you can see their brains working. Like if you just do one small centimeter of a mistake with your arm or your elbow, it's over. You're in a world of fucking pain.
That's why jiu-jitsu is like so complex and so hard to learn.
It's a lot, yeah. So when when like strikes are like pop pop, you're like, oh, I got knocked out. What the fuck? But you could see you could feel a submission developing.
Yes, and it creeps up on you.
And you're like, this is happening, and you're trying to like keep your arms and like
it's the end,
and your mind is racing and trying to be physical at the same time. It's like drowning. Like you're like, oh, this is like the room's closing in on you. You're like, fuck the, like
shit's starting to fade to black.
And but I think it's even creepier. Like the neck ones are weird, but I think it's even worse when you see your joint and you're like, your arms like extended. And you're like, I mean, that's never happened to me. But I do it to other people. I see the look on their face, and they're like, "Oh, this sucks." So I know how bad it must be. But yeah, it's like a slow death. Yeah, more torturous, because you can see it coming. Then when they finally you're like, "Oh, this is happening now. I'm gonna let this go," and my arm's gonna be in fucking pain, and it happens. It's like, wow, it's because you can see and feel it happening to you when it's happening, and
it's just like that feeling of hopelessness.
But there are some hopeless times, and sometimes it's like if you got a minute and a half left in a round, and you are like fighting off a Kimura or some kind of some kind of joint lock, and you're just barely hanging on with your fingertips, just like, and like, is it worth it? Can I hang on for like another minute? And it's but you saw that in that fight, and I thought that was pretty cool to watch. And was it a split decision?
It was a split. Credit to Tisha. She brought it. Like,
She was game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
Nah, when she threw that side kick to the face, I thought it was over. I was like, oh my God.
I honestly thought it could have been either way.
Yeah.
It could have been either way. But good for Mackenzie Dern, and I noticed she didn't bring the translator, and so her English is getting better. I'm so happy for her. It's hard coming from another country and learning how to speak the language, and she's gotten so much better. Yeah. After the translator, I haven't seen the translator for at least 3 fights, so good for her. And the accent seems to be waning.
Doing big things.
Yeah, good for her. Good for her. Okay, so what was the fight after that?
Oh, you know what the fight was.
Oh, yeah, I'm just playing.
Beautiful technical violence.
Yes, that was it was awesome.
For lack of a better word,
the only thing about that particular fight that I didn't enjoy was the fact that it ended. I wish more so than anything that would have been 5 rounds. Because that would, like, could you imagine like what would have happened in a 4th round right there?
Oh man. Okay, if a 4th round.
Could you imagine if that was a championship fight? If we got to see 5 rounds with those guys, what would have happened? And here's the thing: there will never be another Khabib ever. Not that thing. And so the idea that Khamzat is like a Khabib and unbeatable is that's out the window. There are guys that can beat him. Plenty of guys that can beat him. He is vulnerable. He's hittable. He's hurtable. He's taken downable. He is a dude. And I think that like Kamaru Usman would fuck him up.
I don't like using the term like, oh, this fighter will fuck this fighter up.
I think at this point, if their skill level, like where they're at, like it's all about mentality. I think a lot of doubt has crept into Khamzat's head. I think a lot of humility has probably crept into his head. I also think it was super after that fight when I was in the crowd listening and he said those things. I was like, he's changed.
Yeah. Like, nah, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think it's awesome. Like his eyes are open right now.
Yeah,
like,
because he was like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah,
it's like he almost lost that fight.
He had to dig deep into his soul for that.
Yeah,
and that to me showed a lot. Because Khabib was never challenged ever, never challenged,
never bled,
and Khamzat arguably lost that fight.
Yeah, like
so. And that's never happened under Khabib's watch. So that comparison's dead. Yeah. Him being a top 5 fighter is definitely real, though. And he is
absolutely.
He is a killer, and he has got a mindset of that. He's got a mindset of a real fighter, and it showed throughout that fight. We had talked earlier because we were kind of rewatching that fight, and what people don't understand, if you go back and watch that fight. In their first engagement, when Gilbert Burns throws that check, it's like a check overhand left hook. On the very first exchange, people don't see it, but he hits him right in the back of the ear and drops him.
Yep.
I watched in slow motion. I was like, that he got him. He caught him on the way in. I don't think it really hurt him to the point where he was in a lot of danger. But right there, it disrupted his entire. Everything he thought that was going to happen didn't happen when he got that first thing. That was the hardest he'd ever been hit in a fight.
Yeah, for real. Like, he was obviously, like, disoriented, like, afterwards. He had the, basically panic shot.
Yeah, and he just grabbed on. I was like, whoa! This isn't happening. This isn't what I had planned on happening. And so
he made him panic wrestle. Gilbert made him panic wrestle.
Well, when you have a plan, especially when things have been going, like everything that he expected to happen was happening, and then for the first time ever, that train of reality got derailed a bit, and so also he's in a fight, and he had some moments where he also, shots that would have put other people away or had in the past turned people and shelled them up. Burns he's seen it before. He's been hit hard.
Yeah, he was unafraid.
He's been hit. I can't believe that Gilbert Burns fought at 155 pounds.
Oh, me neither.
And
he kind of big. Like he's a small.
And he was losing at 155.
Yeah,
that's the thing. And so he's a tank of a dude.
Yeah, he's stocky and kind of.
He is, but he's also he's got this like. A lot of these times with the stockier guys, they seem like he seems like he has long arms. Like he's got, I don't know.
What's his reach?
He seems like he uses it really well for his size. He throws these long. He seems like he's got this really long hook. This really long, like it's kind of a looping hook, but he ends up hitting with it a lot. And
it's 71 inches, but yeah, I noticed that too. Like it's not really long, but like he does damage with his looping strikes were landing. Like that was in one of my notes actually. Like whereas Hamzat was coming in with the straight forward pressure with the straight shots, they were landing, but he was also getting caught with looping shots. Over and over and over.
Well, they also looked looping because Gilbert was taking angles.
Yes,
they appeared like they're looping because Hamzat was standing in front of him. And he was throwing and exiting it, exiting to the sides. You could see him do it over and over again. So when he was exiting, he was hitting him on the exit, and it appears like sometimes you get those exit shots. They don't look good. Yeah. They're open, so you take an exit shot, but sometimes you're kind of in between your shot, and you got to the opportunity's there to take that shot. So. I don't know. I'm not sure. Judges aren't supposed to know what's going on. They're not supposed to give a shit, but they have the internet.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe some of them are fans of MMA. And I'm not saying that they're not impartial or, whatever, but they're it's not like a jury of your peers that are chosen who don't know about the case. If they're going to be working an event, unless I'm sure they do their research, and Hamzat's on their rise. So no matter who you are, you can start to build biases up in your mind about what happens. But if I was to watch that fight and show it to 100 people, it'd probably be 50-50 about who won.
Yeah, definitely. I don't get people who are saying it was round 3 was easily Hamzat. Because they were going back and forth, they both were
no. And I rewatched this. I rewatched it with without being excited, knowing the outcome. Because when you're watching it live and you're invested and you want somebody to win, and but you're just there and you're kind of digesting the information in real time. Yeah. It's not always as easy to formulate what happened but now we can go back and I watched it a few times. Again, without the emotion into it, just by analyzing what was going on, and it could easily, and in my opinion, if I was judging that fight, I might have given it to Burns.
Yeah, I love Hamzat, and I'm not gonna lie, I did want him to be tested, but I wanted him to win, and that's what happened. So I got my wish, but at the same token, it's I feel like Burns kind of earned it. Burns definitely earned it, especially in that third round, because, good God, they were trying to kill each other.
Well, and it flowed pretty well. I think Hamzat came out hard. Or no, Burns came out hard, I think, and then Hamzat put, the tide turned, and then Burns was like, no, fuck this, and it was a really interesting, one of the best fights ever.
Yeah.
If you want to, see two guys that are just it's really... It would have been exhaustion was going to kill one of those guys if they'd have kept on going. But it was a great fight, and I think that Hamzat versus Colby is the next fight they're going to make.
Yes. Who do you think wins that?
Colby all day. Colby Covington is Colby Covington. It's as much as here's the difference between Covington and Burns. Covington knows now that he can put a pace on Hamzat and just keep on because when Burns had Hamzat on his back foot, he was like killing him.
Yep.
But Burns couldn't keep the pace up, and guess who can? Kobe Covington's just gonna wear. He's just, and by the dude, I'm telling you, like it's like by the fourth round, because it'll go that because Kobe won't get knocked out. He'll just keep on working, grinding. Great wrestler, won't be taken down. He's gonna just wear him down just with his pitter patter bullshit punches, and then also you're gonna see it just. He's gonna
frustrate Kamza.
Dude, he's just gonna melt him, and he's gonna be exhausted, and then probably end with a TKO. I don't think Kobe hits really hard. He's a small 170 pounder. He weighs
I'll say this, like I feel like Kamzat striking, like if he focuses on his boxing, he could be a legitimate threat. But like he makes rudimentary mistakes. Like he rhythm steps a lot, like right before he attacks.
He got away with being a crazy dude against low level talent. And here's what's, dude, if he fought Israel Adesanya, which he said he would get killed. Israel Adesanya would kill him with his feet and his hands. He'd beat him up. His striking is not even close. And if he had a hard time versus a 170 pound, guy like Gilbert Burns, who's a great fighter, he was getting at some points outstruck by him. Like somebody like Israel Adesanya would kill him. Robert Whittaker would kill him. Yeah. Robert Whittaker would beat up Hamzat.
Yeah, especially with his anti-grappling skills.
Like right now, like Robert Whittaker would beat him up.
It wouldn't be pretty.
No, he couldn't go to 85 and beat a lot of people. Yeah. He'd have a really hard time with bigger 85 pounders. So, because he probably weighs about 190, Hamzat probably weighs about 195 pounds.
He probably would, around the same as like Israel.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, so he cuts down to 170, and he's big for 170, but he would not be big for 185, and he'd get eaten alive right now at 185. Yeah, in the top 5 for sure. He wouldn't do so well. So,
but I think he realizes that, and he's about to turn into a different animal.
Well, he's got to work. I mean, he's got to work.
He has to.
I think, dude, I'm not even gonna lie. If he fought Darren Till at 185 pounds, it'd be a hard fight for him. Yeah. That's what I'm just telling you. I mean,
like people think just because Darren Till been on a losing streak that Darren Till sucks, but nah, like Darren Till.
He's turning into one of my favorite people in MMA though, because he's just got a great attitude.
He really does.
To see where he came from where he started, and his mindset change over the course of some adversity and some changes in his life has been pretty cool. Okay, so and what's next for Burns, you think?
Next for Burns, I would say Vicente Luque, but that's like his brother. They're not gonna fight each other.
I know, and like Bilal Muhammad might be the most boring fighter I've ever seen in my whole life.
Right, he would blow Bilal Muhammad. I'm sorry.
I know
Gilbert Burns would.
Bilal Muhammad is so boring, but he's good. He's all right. He wins, but God,
he beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
That was so boring.
That was so sad. Actually.
That was like
I felt like crying after that.
Yeah, I just didn't get. I was like, okay, cool. You can hold him down longer. Good
Oh
job.
my God.
That's a good job.
I mean, but like, get up. I mean, like that's.
He's smart. It's like Bilal knows how to win, but that dude is his skill set is. If somebody can wrestle with him, he's fucked.
Yeah, I can't wait. Maybe Hamzat should fight him. That would be funny.
Maybe that would be like something. You know what? I could very well see Hamzat just being this guy in the next 5 years. That's just there. Yeah. He might win. He might become a champ. But he might just be there. And doubt. Listen. Doubt is something that will be evident if it's how this last fight affected him, because I think in his heart he knows he won, but in his heart he's not happy. He can't be after all the shit he said and what he was going to do. Yeah. And then he goes out there and just gets just barely wins. Yeah. He can't be happy about that. So that sometimes does things to athletes, especially fighters. Remember when Francis lost to Stipe, and what happened after that? He was like, we'll see how he responds to this. Even though he won, I don't think he's taking it as he can't come out and talk crazy shit his next fight. Yeah. He just can't say shit. He can't. Because
no more smash everybody.
No,
kill
because
everybody.
because everything that happened prior to the Gilbert Burns fight is like minor league shit.
Yeah.
Like no, everybody's like, oh, okay, now we see what's up. Because that last guy he fought, the Chinese dude, he was like, whatever. That guy's like, he's whatever.
I mean, but that was an impressive win.
I don't know. That guy.
I don't think Li Jiliang is.
Not Li Ji. He didn't even try.
I mean, bro, like that was a terrible game plan.
He didn't even try.
You threw a cross.
He should be embarrassed. I think he didn't want to get hurt, and I think he was scared. I think he was actually scared.
Yeah, he might have been.
He's like, oh no, I saw him just turn that other guy's face in a hamburger helper.
Hey.
Yeah, like whatever. Okay, so let's go. What's the the next fight was the
Piotr Jan versus.
Oh, Aljo, yeah.
I can't believe I was joking. I just wanted to preface. I thought Aljamain Sterling was about to get his ass whooped. When I said he was gonna win, it was a joke, and he actually won.
Jan was terrible.
Yeah, he had a. Okay, so
Dana White says that he thinks that the judges got it wrong because Dana White probably lost some money on that.
Dana White doesn't know how to score a fight.
Yeah, but also the one thing about Dana White is, when you have a champion in Russia, that's good for business.
Yeah.
And they don't have a champion in Russia. So, I mean, Aljo is, honestly, he said some funny shit over the past couple of days.
Bro.
Funny shit. So props to him on that. And he had a really good plan for that fight. Once he figured out that Jan can't wrestle, he could, dude. Jan can't wrestle. Let's just, he can't wrestle.
Okay, yeah, we gonna.
I thought all Russians could wrestle. I thought Russians were born wrestling bears.
On me, he fooled. Like he really like.
I could tap out. I could tap out Piotr Jan easily with my one hand, just like that.
You can tap out most dudes easily.
I could no, I can, but sometimes I can do it using the Force. Like you ever see Star Wars?
Yeah.
I can do that. I don't like it though because it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But when some people get a little lippy, I can do the whole Admiral Piet or whatever he says, and he's like, I can do that.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Yeah, I learned how to do. I learned how to do that from that movie. Okay, so anyway, so Piotr Jan doesn't know how to wrestle. I think he thought he was just.
Okay, when I say he had me fooled, I thought his grappling was a lot better than what, because he used complex stand-up wrestling and judo maneuvers to disrupt Aljamain in the first fight. So I thought that translated to his ground grappling skills. I was horrifically wrong. His body triangle defense was off. The way he didn't try to fight hands.
He didn't know what he's doing. He was
he was like a fish out of water.
He just got frustrated. Yo. And then Aljo and he was working the whole time he was on his back. He was like evil Yoda, just pounding him.
Oh,
just like he's on him force and just punching him in the face. But he was also very patient about it because there were times when he was just kind of he just frustrating Jan, and Jan looked like he was trying to figure out a fucking Rubik's Cube.
Nah, when he first got full mount in the second round, I think, and he started hitting Jan, if you look at Jan's composure, he really fucked him up. He really was hurting him.
Dude, once he cracked, it's you know what? It's so funny in fights and I was talking to one of our teammates the other day about this and how, even in sparring, if I'm hitting somebody with the same thing over and over again, why would I ever stop?
Yeah.
And so, for Aljamain Sterling, once he figured out he could take him down and then get his back pretty easily, why would even if he's not going to sub him, you're safe.
Yeah, yeah.
It's total domination.
I'm not going to get hit by one of the hardest hitters in my division.
And it's just fucking embarrassing, honestly.
Exactly.
To be held there like a little kid. He just controlled him, and that's something that they score these fights on is domination and duration of that. And so,
he arguably got 10-8'd.
He got dominated, dude. It just was.
Two rounds in a row.
Yeah, it was bad. And I think that I had heard that Aljamain Sterling had neck issues that he got resolved in the meantime in between the last two fights. And so health wise, I don't know why these fighters. You never know if they're healthy or not. I'm sure they have injuries, but the fact that he said that his neck was back to high functioning, you could see that.
Which, yeah. Like, you don't, like, when you see the first fight, it's kind of apparent now. Like you said, it's apparent because, like, the way he was moving was kind of awkward and weird. Which is, like, nobody thought anything of it because he'd been fighting the whole time.
He looked
like
healthy, too. Dude, Aljamain Sterling, he's fucking huge.
Like, he walks around like 165 or something.
He has to be about 100. He has to be walking around about 160, like 106, because I don't think he's super tall. I think his hair fucking throws everything off.
Yeah.
But he probably 5'7.5", 5'8", I guess. But he is really big. Like, he looks like his upper body looked like double the size of Jan's.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's going to win fights or anything like that, but he looks like, in order to carry that around and to have that on your back like that,
you have to have like something.
Yeah, like, I mean, for me, basically, I usually run up mountains with like 200 pounds on my back all the time, so it's not that hard. But for people that don't have that kind of work ethic and kind of like, don't prepare that way, then it's going to feel like an animal's on you. And, he just had
he was going crazy.
He couldn't get out. And, it's like, it didn't seem like holding the body triangle did anything to Aljo's legs. So he wasn't like,
he didn't squeeze it. He barely.
Yeah, it wasn't. And that's weird too, because like, again, when you're like a high level black belt, like, I don't have a belt. I don't believe in belts, but if you're high level like me at jiu-jitsu, you do that body triangle. Yeah, you can control somebody, but sometimes you got to use a little muscle. I don't normally, but like, sometimes you got to do that. And so, I'm surprised his legs weren't more gassed out at that point
at all. Like, because he was taking leg kicks.
But you know what was happening was after the third round, he's like, I got this.
Yeah.
And that's like, and Jan was getting frustrated, and because Aljo has a really weird striking style.
Oh, it's like people say it's unorthodox, but it's really just bad striking. That works for him.
It's a system that works because of his takedown threat.
Yes,
he does that. Like, I can't believe, like, and I called it. I was like, dude, why does he just fucking throw knees up the middle? Like, and he wasn't, dude. He did one time. What was Jan doing? Just like time that knee.
Yeah,
because he does that thing where I can't demonstrate it really, but he kind of crawls forward, almost legs parallel to each other, just walking head down. Like reaching for either, it's like he's like tricking you into thinking he's like reaching for a double, single, or strike. It's kind of cool, and it works.
But like it still leaves him open.
It opened to a knee up the middle, and Jan clocked him with. He clocked him with one. I was watching I was there, man. I think I shouted out in the crowd, knee up the middle, right? And I think you heard me. And I said it in Russian too, because I speak Russian because of all that work I used to do with the the other stuff. I can't talk about.
Right?
Yeah. So right up the middle, that knee, and so, but it's so weird when you're watching from the outside, and you can clearly see as a observer of the fight what is open, and I know it's not like that when you're in it, and there's fists coming at you, but it's when you're on top of a fight, when you're winning the fight, you see those things. When you're catching up in that race, that fight race of moves, then you don't see. You're always a step behind. You know that feeling. We just like a click behind.
Yeah.
And he seemed like he was just a click behind because Aljo had one move that he couldn't.
Oh, a takedown?
He could. Dude, he was so worried about it. Because every time he'd do the thing, his hips would go back, and then Jan can't throw anything with his hips back. You can't strike with your hips back.
Jan's defensive wrestling is good, though. Like, he has good hips. But
well, that's what... this is why these guys need to know the one-inch punch. That's what I... Like, if you know how to do that, if your hips back, I still got the one-inch punch.
Yeah. Okay.
So, it's... I mean, talk to me, boys. I know how to do this, but I'm not sure if they're allowed in the UFC, especially to the trachea.
No, neck punches aren't...
I mean, that's over. Lights out. I could probably go in the UFC anyway class and just win with that. But it's not cool. People be like, this is boring. It's too good. But yeah, with that one move it was just incredible how that changed the dynamic of that fight. And you know what? Here's the thing. I think Aljamain Sterling's grappling is so fucking good. He's so good at wrestling. And not just like not traditional folk style wrestling, but that's his foundation.
Like
MMA wrestling.
Yes.
His MMA wrestling is really fucking good.
Talk to him, Mace.
Yeah, and so if you watch him doing that, you see he has created, I think, a really good striking style for MMA if you can complete takedowns. You have to be able to have that kind of level of wrestling, which he does, and he befuddled. I don't think that Jan can ever catch him because his wrestling just isn't good.
Yeah, no, and it's like Aljamain has his 10,000 hours in wrestling. Like
He's a great wrestler.
He's a great wrestler. And that's not something that Jan can catch up with. Even being like Russian, like even he probably has access to some of the greatest wrestling coaches in the world.
Yeah, those dudes fall in love with their hands though.
Yeah, but like he's not gonna.
He's a boxer. He's a boxer.
He is.
He's a boxer, and so you see it, you know. And Aljo, man, it's just one of the. It's like what they like Bruce Lee, who said that you know, if he was to get in a fight in an alley or something, and the best martial arts to know would be Western boxing and wrestling together, and that's what Aljo does.
Yeah,
and it works.
Does it well.
I don't know who I think that the only person that beats him would be if Cejudo came back and fought him at 35 because Cejudo's such a good wrestler. But you know, also we're talking again MMA wrestling. Aljamain Sterling, from when I observed it, when I watched it, he does.
You think he's a better MMA wrestler?
Well, he's one of the best MMA wrestlers that's out there right now because he does this thing. He does this one thing where he's able to take you down and get on your back. Like that's his game plan. He did it to Sandhagen easily. And this is Corey Sandhagen's a really good I don't know if Sandhagen's ever had a traditional folk style wrestling background, which
he doesn't, but he is a good wrestler.
He's way better than Jan.
Yeah.
I don't think Jan's ever subbed anybody in any fight.
Let's
maybe like in his early days.
He's fouled more than one person.
So yeah, so I think that Aljo beats Cejudo. I think Dillashaw's done.
Really?
I think he's just, as far as championship caliber, I think he's like, you know,
it's a new breed.
It's a new breed. I think he's going to compete. I think when he fought Sandhagen last, and it was a close fight, 3 rounds. He didn't look great. Didn't look bad. Again, that was a 50-50 fight right there. Could have gone either way.
He got his knee fucked up.
And you know he's rehabbing after that. So it's another year off, another year older.
37 now, ain't he?
Yeah, dude, and you know, when you're fighting at 35, those guys are fast.
Yeah. I mean, granted to him, like he's still. I don't think he's fast. He just knows what you're gonna do because of the experience.
He's been in a lot of long fights too, though. He's been in a lot of 5-rounders and I think he's been in two 5-round championship fights, I think. But he's also been knocked out a couple times too.
Yeah,
and that's not good. He's obviously not on juice right now, so I'm not sure.
He used to train in Team Alpha Male before Dwayne Ludwig, so he probably had a bunch of concussions.
Yeah, so I'm thinking he's probably, if I don't know who his next fight's against. I don't even know if he has another fight scheduled coming up. But
I mean, Dana White is basically saying TJ's next.
I would like to see that fight.
I would like to see that fight.
Had they fought already?
TJ Dillashaw? No, they have
not. And Aljo, yeah.
That's a nice style
I would like to see Cejudo fight Dillashaw at 35. That'd be a cool fight.
I think Cejudo wins again.
I think so too, but I want to see him healthy. I want to see both guys fighting at like a weight and, you know, just like come out there and see them go skill for skill.
I think Cejudo submits him.
Think so? You think he submits him?
Oh yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's like a TKO with one of those two guys. Like I think the wrestling is going to counter each other and just they'll be doing their weird boxing. Cejudo.
I mean, like when it comes to two wrestlers, I always think of like who has the higher pedigree. But
and they just kind of. I mean, at some point, those things like the wrestling becomes a moot point because then it's like, okay, we can both do that. Yeah. And we can both do it well enough where we're not going to lose.
And like it's different wrestling. Like Olympic wrestling is different from MMA wrestling.
For sure, because you have to worry about some other different things, and there's a limited skill set of what you can and can't do as far as takedowns go, and where you put your head and different things like that. Okay, so I think Aljo stays champ for a minute, but
Yeah, like he really proved, he proved a lot of people wrong, and I respect the hell out of him for that. He proved me wrong because I thought Jan was gonna walk through him.
Yeah. I definitely didn't think that he showed that he's a little like he's
Elite.
an elite fighter for sure.
Like
An elite fighter.
Joe Rogan didn't call this certain scenario, but like a long time ago, Joe Rogan said that like he has like GOAT potential, and I think he showed it.
We'll see. We'll see. I think he's got to win about if he holds a title two or three title defenses. He's definitely one of the best bantamweights of all time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Best bantamweights of all time. Okay, so let's get to the main event, which was it was not it wasn't good.
That was rough.
That was a bad fight.
That ruined my childhood.
And Herb Dean saved Korean Zombie's life and probably some brain cells because it just wasn't a good fight. And to be honest with you, I lost interest because by then it was not a great main event. I know that he just stopped him. He was standing up and just like, we're done.
Okay, so basically Alex was whooping his
He was
ass
whooping
so
him, dude.
bad that he felt bad and was like,
yeah, Herb just stepped in and was like, hey, we're done.
Yeah, like Alex and Herb had a conversation.
He was out on his feet.
He talked about this with Ariel Helwani yesterday. So he was basically talking to
Ariel Helwani?
Yeah, he was talking to Ariel Helwani.
Oh yeah, you know that I'm his insider.
Yeah, I know.
When he needs stuff, this is why I finally had to come out.
This is how he found out Brock Lesnar was.
Yes, dude. This is why we have to do this show because they're using all my information. I'm the guy.
Yes.
Ariel texts me all the time. All right, I'm sick of him getting all the credit.
Yeah, bro.
And it's fine, Ariel. You can ride my coattails to the top. You have been for years because I didn't want all the clout. I already got enough going on in my life.
The fame back then, but now it's different.
Well, now that I ended my career with doing the operations, the operators, I can't really talk about.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. I can kind of go in. It's kind of like being a made man in the mafia,
Right.
is what I was doing, but not the same, but totally different. And so, while you're in it, you can't really talk about it, but I'm retired from that life and I can't really talk about it anymore. But now I can go out in the general public and talk about my expertise because pretty much all the UFC reporters, they get all their information. Brett Okamoto, come get somebody, Anyway, so main event, and it was
Hard to watch.
It was hard to watch, and Korean Zombie's corner should
Fired.
No. He kind of in that last round he kind of he was still with it, but he was out on his feet.
No, that fight should not have continued. Alexander Volkanovski is a monster. That man's feints work because he throws strikes, and his strikes works because he throws feints. And then he adds takedowns to the mix. He gives you so many questions, and you can't answer one of them. So how do you expect he's just different.
Korean Zombie's just not on his level, and that's just the way it is. Max Holloway will give him trouble and could beat him.
Yes.
And not Yair. Yair couldn't.
I say Arnold Allen has a chance.
He's got to win a couple more fights. He's definitely has the energy for it.
Sadiq Yusuf.
No.
What?
Not champion. Come on, dude. Champion.
Okay, not champion.
Did you watch him?
He can beat older.
Volkanovski's so good. When you start to deal with the Ortegas up there, the Holloways, the real that's when you're dealing with some fucking monsters.
Yeah.
Dudes you think that anybody can really fucking hurt fucking Brian Ortega?
No.
He looked like the fucking Elephant Man after that fight.
The reason his defense is so bad is because he has a chin. He can take a lot of damage.
He's a really, he's one of those dudes who came in with like a baby face in MMA. When he's done, he's gonna look like fucking Mickey Rourke. I'm not joking. He got fucked up in his fights, and some guys don't look. He's gonna wear that shit on his fucking face for the rest of his life because he's been in 2 fights now that have been fucking horrifying. When he fought Volkanovski, his face looked horrifying. When he got used for a punching bag against Max Holloway, he fucking looked terrible after that, all swollen and horrible. And so you got to protect that face, man. Hands up.
For real, like it's so simple.
Hands up. No, I mean, I like to do the hands low because I like do a lot of fucking spinning shit.
Yeah, I feel
You know, because it's like, oh, where's it coming from? Top, bottom. And it's like, boom, knocked out, baby. So, but, you know, again, I don't fight in a cage for money. I fight for real, like in the streets.
for glory
Glory,
and honor.
honor,
Yeah,
truth, justice, the American way.
prison time.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think anybody. Volkanovski was talking about going up to 55.
Oh my! Let's talk about that.
You know, his only defeat was that fucking welterweight.
Yes, that's the only time he's ever like
Welterweight.
when he came into his UFC debut was at lightweight.
No, wait, hang on. Was it at welterweight or was it middleweight? He said his first loss at middleweight, I think, at 85.
Hold on.
And then I think he's lost at welterweight. He came in, and I think he fought almost like within the first few months of him training.
Mm.
But I think he fought at 85, then down to 70, then 55, and then 45.
That's pretty common in Australia, though, ain't it?
I just think when you first break in, fuck it, man. He's like, you
Yeah.
know, just trying to see what this is like and doesn't know anything about it. And
And they got a combat sports culture down there, so it's different. So his only loss was Corey Nelson, TKO, head kick and punches, welterweight tournament, yeah,
welterweight, huh?
quarterfinal.
Yeah, I one time boxed a giant kangaroo
Mm-hmm.
in Australia, and
go?
it was to impress the tribe of the Aborigines.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, and I got to hang out with them. I defeated their champion kangaroo, no problem.
What was his name?
It doesn't matter. I can't even pronounce it. But the kangaroo came at me pretty hard, and then it's like they don't know proper combos. So once his flurry came at me, that they do, because then they get up on their thing and they do their feet too.
Yeah.
I gave him like a 1, 2, 3, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want none of that shit down here, down
Basically just
under."
telegraphed him.
Yeah, and then once I beat him up, it was over, and then we sacrificed him and then ate him.
Hell, okay. I
Okay,
like
so
that.
anyway, back to the Volkanovski. I think that at 55, it's going to be a different story, though. People don't understand like how like there's a huge difference between 55 and 45 in the UFC.
I don't disagree with that, but like I feel like skill wise they're about the same.
I think that you're dealing with like I think just like at 55 the guys are just a little stronger. In a way that it's just it's like a completely different thing. So
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna agree with you because like Dustin Poirier's power from when he was a featherweight to when he was a lightweight was tremendous. It was a tremendous increase, but I don't think that's like everybody.
yeah, but in that particular size of a human being, in that 20-pound range from 35 to like 135, 130 to 60, that 30-pound range right there.
Mm-hmm.
The 10-pound increments are fucking massive.
Hmm.
So like a 35-pounder is only 20 pounds different than the 55-pounder, right?
Yeah.
They kind of look the same if you put them next to each other. Not a huge difference in size. And the 45-pounder looks almost identical to the 55-pounder. But the 55-pounder is going to that 10 now on 20 pounds of muscle compared to the other guys. It's a lot to deal with,
Yeah.
especially with those kind of athletes.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, some 55 pounders are starting to get taller. Like Jalen Turner, that man's 6'3".
Yeah, and that's another thing is like I think the cut down. I think cutting down from 175 to 155 is way more reasonable than 175 to 145.
Yeah.
So you see a lot more guys. I think a lot of guys that fight at 45. I wonder how much they cut down from. They seem like there's not a whole lot of.
So actually, Alex Volkanovski said this yesterday again. He walks around at like 170.
Okay,
But
that makes
he's
sense.
a big dude though.
That's him. That's him. Like just eating what he wants, living his life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see him being like a 170-pound meatball like that.
Yeah.
And good for him. I think he could compete at 155. I mean, he can compete at fucking 170 if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
Honestly. he's like that good. But I think that he's going to be a hard person to dethrone. He's a fucking dog.
For real.
Like he's got a dog in him that if you go 5 rounds with Max Holloway, how many times? 3 times?
Yeah. It's about to be a third time.
No, I thought they're going to do it 4 times now.
What? Nah,
They
that's
fought
you
twice?
thinking of Moreno and
Yeah.
Moreno and
Dude, that fight is and Max Holloway is a dog.
Yeah.
And to outdog that dog, you got to have something inside you that's a little bit different than the average person.
He didn't do it once, but twice.
Twice. And again, those are contestable fights.
Yes. Very close.
One of the many reasons I don't agree.
The first one wasn't close, but like
You don't think so? What?
I don't think the first one was that close.
Well,
I think Alex clearly won that, but like it wasn't a domination.
I think you're drunk. No, I can see how somebody would say that, but yeah. So that was a great card, and I'm really happy I snuck in the back of that limo. I went to the after parties; they were pretty fun. Went to some clubs.
Yeah.
I made a lot of money, so I was out balling. Went to the gentleman's club. Yep, it's a lot of good times. But anyway, so we'll try and do. We're gonna do another preview show for UFC 274, which is May 7th, I believe, and that's Gaethje against Oliveira.
Who you got for that?
Let me just. I'm not gonna make any predictions at this point because I like to watch Embedded. That's how I learn everything about these fights. I watch Embedded. I can tell by what they do at their hotels when they're just falling around and doing mundane things. Tells me everything I need to know about them.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Embedded. And so I also like to watch ceremonial weigh-ins. That's how you really tell. When Joe Rogan's out there and he's screaming the names, that's what really gets me focused and zeroed in when they do the face-off there. That's how I know. But yeah, we'll do UFC 274. Probably come back next week and maybe do some news, keep up on the news in the MMA world, the fight world, not just UFC. We could talk about Bellator, one, boxing, hockey. I don't give a shit. They fight in that. We'll do it all. Pro wrestling.
Fight, we talk about
there's people fighting. We're going to talk about it. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. But we're not begging you because we're not beggars. All right.
Damn straight.
You'd be lucky to be one of our subscribers. And so we'll start some social. Is it called social media, Ronnie?
I think it's social media.
Yeah. We got an Insta page. Get that set up so you can follow us on that. And I just can't believe that that you can just post like pictures and stuff on your phone. And so Ronnie's going to spearhead all that for us. And we'll be back next week. I think next week we'll probably have another show. I'm going to be taking a call from Quentin Rampage Jackson, so he'll be on talking to us. It's going to be awesome, so don't forget to tune in for that. And any parting words for our wonderful guest, Ronnie?
You all are excellent.
Parting words from Ronnie J. And this is the Mace Hammertime. This has been the Mace Hammertime MMA Power Hour with Ronnie J.
All right, guys. See you.
See you next time.